Heyo everybody, Haku here with HaQ&A 71. So gonna be talking about some comments, some topics brought up in the comments, and some general topics and stuff too. But I want to say if my voice is kind of screwed for this video I just recorded for 30 minutes. So yeah, blue reflection video coming soon, probably before this, either tonight or in the morning. Hopefully tonight. I'm aiming to get it up tonight for when I'm recording this. Recording it on Valentine's Day. What is today? Wednesday? So hoping to get that up tonight and hoping to get this up on Thursday. So you should be seeing it, well, now if you're watching it. I don't know why I always do that. Like, I'm talking to you, telling you when stuff is going to be up as if like this has to be up for you to be watching it. Either way though. Some general stuff I've got down here in notes. I'm working hard to finish that top waifu video, but I haven't even had free time outside of YouTube and stuff outside of YouTube. I haven't even had free time, let alone time to work on longer projects like that. So I'm working to get it done as soon as I can, but man, I need time. I need time to do it. The Blue Reflection review is in the notes. Yeah, it should either come out soon after this or have come out soon before this. Also, Magical Reel Raising Project, it should be coming back weekly or bi-weekly. I talked to Platt and basically said, you know, I'm good at this point. Yeah, he said I was good after this Sunday, and he said that before last Sunday, so I should be good whenever. So I'll be coming back to finish up episodes and then move on into Limited after doing the 2 special videos, of course. So yeah, that'll all be either weekly, or if weekly proves to be too much for those read-throughs, I'll do it every other week like I'm doing with the HaQ&As right now. It just depends on what I have time for. And hopefully, even if I don't have time this season, I want to take on less anime and shows to review next season. So if I take on less to review next season, that should mean more time for read-throughs. But yeah, also just generally, with the HaQ&A being back, I'm doing better with comments. I'm not back to where I feel like I should be, but I'm doing better. And I feel a lot better about the channel again lately. I feel like all of the things now that are going bad, I feel like I'm trying my hardest and I'm succeeding to do what I used to do and stuff a lot better than I was during the fall. So I feel like I'm doing a lot better and the channel's doing a lot better that way. And I feel like the only problems the channel is having right now are just driven by YouTube constantly trying to screw over small creators. No, I'm not going to get into a rant about that. That's something I can talk about at another time. If people are interested, I'll probably talk about it in the Patreon video whenever I actually make a Patreon. But I don't want to spend time doing that when I can spend time making actual content for the channel. So Patreon will be a thing eventually, I guess. But when it is, I can maybe rant about YouTube then. But it's just a thing that I'm not going to get into it too deep, but I have noticed that when I do get hit by the stupid random demonetization thing that seems to have no context at all, because there are some videos like there'll be a word in the title where I'm like, I don't know, will that get it striked? And no, it doesn't. But then sometimes it'll hit me with that yellow $sign and I'll be like, this was very benign. I have no, like, of course, there's no excuse for it to begin with, given that my content is very much not abrasive in any way. But so there's no sense in it anyway. But it'll happen on videos, especially where I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. So yeah. And the point I was getting at is I've noticed when that happens, that say like it happens on a Tower of God video or a Boku no Hero Academia video, I'll notice that when it happens to that video will get like 1/5 the amount of views as the video last week, the same live reaction or review or whatever last week. So I'm like, is it a difference in the chapters? I'm kind of starting to think that maybe it's just that the video is reaching less people, which disappoints me a lot, that some random faulty system could make people that want to see my videos see them less. That kind of sucks, but I'm not going to dwell too much on that. From Mahotsukai no Yome, since I'm feeling better about stuff, I really want to get caught up and watch some more of that. I want to get the long projects done first, but whenever I have some time and feel like I can throw up a Mahotsukai no Yome video, I'll throw some up. And hopefully I can be more positive about it. since I'm just in a better place right now anyway. Also, Tower of God's been great lately, tons of information, so that's likely going to dominate a lot of the HaQ&As for right now, and even right now, like I said, the only two big sections we have this week are the Tower of God section and the Boku no Hero Academia section. But either way, we have two general comments for the general section I wanted to talk about. First up, I believe that's Nikos, says that... I'm not sure how to pronounce it, said that you should check out the anime/manga Killing Bites and the manga Isekai Mao to Shokan Shoujo Dore Majutsu. I'm already watching Killing Bites as of right now, and I completely love it because Hitomi is one sexy, muscular, furry babe. And muscle girls are the best. But yeah, that and the manga you mentioned, the Isekai Mao, that one... it's already on my to-read list, which means somebody else already suggested it. Hopefully, again, once I have more time to do more read-throughs on the channel, I can get to more of the manga that are on that list of things to read that have been suggested. Next is Senraikai, who, go look up his videos too if you haven't. He does reaction... Again, I don't have a ton of time to watch other people's videos other than mine, which sucks compared to how much I used to watch of everyone's. But I do try to catch one of his videos every now and then. He does anime reactions, so go check out Senraikai if you're interested in anime reactions. Or Kumo. But either way, or wait, yeah, Senraikai Kumo. Man, sometimes I talk to so many of you that I get afraid, I get paranoid. I'm like, am I confusing them with somebody else? Sometimes it really gets me that I get worried. I'm like, what if they call me out? What if I am confusing them with somebody else? But yeah, just go check out them if you want. But they said, I would consider Toji no Miko to be the most underrated series of the season. You're probably right about that. Although Slow Start is also pretty underrated. Also very right about that. It's a very solid show, but has a low MyAnimeList score because people watch one episode or less and call it generic without giving it a real chance to see how the story and characters develop. Anyway, this has been a pretty good season. These are my top 5 of the season so far. 5th, Yuru Camp. 4th, Sorayuri Matoi Basho. 3rd, Mitsuboshi Colors. 2nd, Citrus. 1st, Slow Start. Very similar to a lot of the ones I would consider at the top of the list for me. Like, top for me is probably, and I'll probably list the anime I'm watching from least to most favorite in the comments like I did before. Give me a little bit to think of it while I'm waiting for this to upload and stuff. I can write that down in the comments. But I would say something like Yuru Camp would be up at the top for me, and so would Citrus and Mitsuboshi Colors. So those three we'd have in common. And Slow Start and Sorayuri Matoi Basho would both be very, very high up, but I don't know if they'd be in my top 5. I'd maybe replace the two of those, or at least replace Sorayuri Matoi Basho in my top 5 with Kikoku or Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens. Both of those are very, very good. There are probably others that are very good that I'm forgetting right at the second. But let's see some of the stuff I wrote in my actual reply to them to help me get my thoughts out there and help me remember some of my thoughts. But I feel like there are, like you brought up, a bunch of underrated series, and I think the biggest two are Toji no Miko and Slow Start. Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens, I think, is hugely underrated too, because it is a great show thus far, and it's a great show, and I have heard of basically nobody else watching it, at least that I'm communicating with. But yeah, all 18 that I'm watching I view as being pretty good. There isn't really a weak link. Toji no Miko to me is great, and I think the way it ended up like that with the MyAnimeList score is that it had a kind of weird first episode where there was this weird CG in the beginning that wasn't the worst, like I said, but it wasn't too great either. So it had a weird first episode. That, and they acted like we were supposed to know a lot of these concepts and a lot of these characters. They didn't explain much, and they were like, hey, you'll find out as the series goes along. So I feel like that's probably why a lot of people just dropped it. It kind of did have a weird first episode, even though it developed super, super well, and I really love watching it. It's not at all what you would expect going into it. Thing with MyAnimeList scores, though, I would urge none of you to take them seriously. I will rant about a little bit. I love my anime list. I think it's great for compiling anime, seeing what aired what season, seeing information like voice actors and all of that. I love using that as a database and who all worked on it in the project in different parts, like producer, director, and all that. That my anime list helps me a lot with that when I need to look it up for reviews and stuff. But one thing I hate, the scores, absolutely hate the scores and the reviews because they shatter my illusions. I'm always stuck in this illusion where I'm like, most anime fans I know are smart. They're the nerdy, bookish type a lot of the time, and they're usually very smart. But then I will look occasionally in the comments of an anime episode or in my anime list, and I'll see something like Fairy Tail with one of the highest scores of any anime when I liked Fairy Tail, but it was hot garbage. I liked it, but it was hot garbage, and the anime was not good. So yeah, I don't know, the anime was much worse than the manga, which was hot garbage. It wasn't animated very well. So yeah, stuff when I see stuff like that, or I see so many fans that are like, that are basically just like, all anime trash is moe now, and this is terrible, it needs more screaming and punching like Goku. And everybody who says, current anime is trash has like without a doubt, they almost always have a Dragon Ball Super profile picture. And I'm like, how are you gonna shit on anime with a Dragon Ball Super profile picture? How are you gonna do this? Does the cognitive dissonance not affect you? But yeah, I just think that that's what happens. And a lot of times with reviews on my anime list, with my reviews, I'm always like, this is my opinion, this is what I liked or didn't like, things like that. But whenever I read, or I try to make it a point not to read, but whenever I see a review on my anime list, it's always somebody that's like talking like they're a college professor writing a thesis, and their analysis of just the one episode they watched of this anime is some gospel word. But it turns out from somebody who's watched a shit ton of anime, as it may be, when somebody with actual experience looks at that, they're like, this is what you're like, this is what they thought. Have they ever even watched another show before? So yeah, I love my anime list, but I hate the reviews and scores up there. They're so bad. And like you said, with them watching the first episode not giving a chance, that's something that's a huge problem with any show. That's why like Kimono Friends had like a terribly low score that rose to a really high score, because people saw that it had kind of course, very, very low budget 3D CG animation, and they just immediately wrote it off. And that happens with so many other shows. That happened with Hoseki no Kuni, and then its score rose as people gave it a chance and realized, oh man, it's really, really good. And imagine how much higher the score could be if it weren't for those people that gave it low scores in the beginning without waiting and watching and giving it a chance. But yeah. For the season's anime, though, to get back on that topic, I have trouble choosing a favorite, because a lot of them are really close together, like the ones I just mentioned earlier. But some basic thoughts, because I have each kind of written down. Kokoku and Hakata Tonkotsu Ramens are both action-y stories, and they're both possibly the best of the season, because I kind of prefer that kind of story. I've come to like a lot. I've really come to enjoy slice-of-life shows a lot and comedies a lot, whereas it used to be 2 or so years ago, I would watch basically no slice-of-life or comedy stories. But now it's like, I work on stuff outside of YouTube, I work on YouTube stuff, and when I watch an anime, I just want to relax and watch something relaxing, and so I think that's why I've come to like comedies and slice of lives more, but my favorites have always been sort of the action fantasy drama types. So I think that Kokoku and Hakata Tonkotsu Ramen are probably my favorite. But I get super emotionally involved and super behind the shows when I'm watching Citrus and Mitsuboshi Colors. Yuru Camp and Sorayori Motoe Basho are really well made and always give me the feels. Violet Evergarden has given me the feels a ton, but the thing with Violet Evergarden is that it is quite emotionally heavy, so that whenever I watch it, it takes a bit to watch it. Because of that relaxation factor I talked about. When I go in to watch an anime, it's hard to go into it and be like, okay, I'm about to watch something that's going to be emotionally heavy and not relaxing, really. So that's why Violet Evergarden usually takes a little bit more of a push for me to watch, even though it is quite amazing. Hakume to Mikachi is great too. I absolutely love it. And Slow Start, both of those are amazing and very, very unique. Mirai no Kaikata is so relaxing, and it is so cute, and it's another one that I've come to really, really love for what it is and feel like it's really unique. 3 that exceeded my expectations. Beatless, way better than I thought it would be. I like it. Toji no Miko, way better than I thought it would be. And Death March Isekai, I thought Death March Isekai was going to be total trash because that's usually how these isekai go, but I actually really, really like it. I really like Death March Isekai. It's probably one of my favorites thus far. Now, ReZero might end up being one of my favorites like it is for most people, or Konosuba, if I actually go back and watch them. I haven't watched Konosuba at all, and if you don't remember, I tried to watch ReZero and then dropped it because I didn't like it. But so many people love it that I feel like I need to try to give it a chance. So maybe I can go back and try it again sometime. Ryu no Oshigoto is good, but it gets creepy. I feel like comparing it to another very lolicon heavy show, comparing it to, what was it, Tenchi no 3P from a season or 2 ago. Tenchi no 3P was so good, and it told a very, very good story, and it did have some lolicon fan service, but it never felt creepy. Whereas Ryu no Oshigoto, the main character feels kind of like a creep at times. So it's kind of different. It doesn't tell as good a story, and I think that's a part of it. And the main character, rather than things being very circumstantial, it seems like he plays into it sometimes, and it ends up coming off a bit creepy. Takunomi is probably one of the best 12-minute shows I've ever watched. Shows with 12-minute episodes. Takunomi is a great slice of life. I feel like it's basically made to sell. It's basically made to sell alcohol to you. It's like an advertisement, really. But the characters are so good, and the conversations and scenes they have are so good that I don't care if it's meant to try to sell me something. As a show, Takunomi is very, very good. It's a great slice of life. So I would very much recommend giving Takunomi a chance. That and Now is a top tier waifu. They're all kind of top tier waifus, but Now is my favorite. Killing Bites up here too. Killing Bites is all sorts of sexy and very exciting in that I really, really like the concept a lot. And I also like that you can never forget about what Killing Bites is, because Hitomi reminds you like twice an episode. So yeah. Then Nanatsu no Bitaku, again, all sorts of sexy. I really wish it was a full-length series and had a decent plot like Nanatsu no Taizai did, or Sin Nanatsu no Taizai. So I am disappointed that it isn't being given that same sort of treatment, but as a series of shorts, it is still fun to watch. And then lastly, Mark and Modkin wasn't what I was expecting, but still something I love watching each week. I started off kind of low on it because it was below what I expected when I first saw episode 1. But was episode 6 the most recent one? Whatever the most recent episode was, it was great. I loved the most recent one. I think it was episode 6. So moving on past that, that was all the general stuff I had to talk about, and I talked about it a whole hell of a lot. So let's go to Boku no Hero Academia now. Let's talk about Boku no Hero Academia. Actually, it's a decently sized column here, but I think it's only one. String of comments. But ML said, "Love Lover is such a weird translation. I hope that's not her official name. Love her design though, and gentle looks cool." For me, I looked up the raws so that I could see what the name actually was, because I know Jimenez translated it as La Brava, and now coming in, Viz translated it as that. But I know Jimenez, the day it came out, translated it as La Brava, and I thought that Love Lover was kind of a dumb name, but I felt like it was kind of more accurate than La Brava, because I kind of feel like La Brava is a pretty dumb name too. ML brought up, they said she could also be Love Robber or Love Rubber, and actually both of those kind of made sense, and I kind of liked both of them, even though Rubber wouldn't have just been like Raba, it would have been Raba with the long ba at the end. Yeah, it would have had the long B at the end, and love robber would have had uro rather than ra, but in katakana. So yeah, like both of those made sense, kind of, even though they kind of would have been off. So even though it doesn't fit the common katakana, I felt like love robber, love rubber actually aren't that bad of names, even though they're awkward to English speakers. They at least are a little bit better than love lover, and are a lot better than La Brava, because I just don't like that, even though it is the legit translation. Because Darcy Forrester came in and said, once the Viz translation came out, that Viz officially translated it as La Brava, and gave the link to the translator's reasoning, and the translator had very, very good reason for translating it that way. And I think he's completely right for translating it that way, despite me thinking La Brava is a pretty lame name. But I think what it turns into is he kind of explained it as La Brava being the title of a book, or was it a play? Something like that, that she seems to be based on the like she seems to have some connections with the name of that book or play or whatever. And of course the whole love rubber and love robber don't make much sense given the katakana. So La Brava does seem like what Horikoshi was going through, so I think it's an issue where in Tower of God there's a character that is spelled Hoaqin in the translation, the official translation, but I and most people I know pronounce it as Joaquin, which would be what, Joaquin. So I translate it that way because I'm pretty sure it's what the author intended. I'm pretty sure he was trying to say Joaquin, but it's just that trying to write a Spanish name where the J makes an H sound in Korean characters, and dealing with the whole QUI thing in Korean characters, I think because of that, it's clear that he meant Joaquin, but there was no real good way for him to put it into Korean characters. And from the explanation that the translator gave for here in Boku no Hero Academia, I feel like it was another thing where Horikoshi intended La Brava, but there wasn't really a good way for Horikoshi to put La Brava into katakana, a good, clear way. So I think until we won't really know absolutely for certain until we see it written in Romanji somewhere, but I do believe La Brava is probably the correct way to translate. And with that out of the way, that is the only thing to talk about for the Boku no Hero Academia section. Now we've got a Tower of God section to talk about, and sorry, my voice is really starting to go now. But lol said, "This is my first mention in a video like ever. Thanks, Haku. By the way, what's the relation between Rea Han and Rea Han? I don't think Zahard/Jihad and Edwan are too powerful." And then the rest of the comment isn't really something that I wanted to address, but I wanted to bring up because that was kind of a good thing for lol to bring up, that the relation between Rea Han and Rea Han, I looked it up after they mentioned it, and I couldn't find anything, but I could have sworn that in the lore somewhere, whether it was in the blog post or whether it was on the wiki, there was something in the lore I could have sworn that said Ari and Rea were close or on friendly terms or had a good relationship or something. But now that I look back, I can't find it. So that's really weird. Is it something that I just kind of made up in my head? I have no idea. But I could have sworn that there was something in the lore between the two of them. So yeah, sorry if that is debunked here. I have no clue. Coolfood270 said, "I'm glad that CU came up with a satisfying explanation for the rack situation. Reading all the fan theories got me worried." I agree with that. I'd almost forgotten that the whole rack thing was never explained, so I thought it would be one of those things where, like, 50 chapters from now, 100 chapters from now, people would bring up, "Hey, we still don't know how Rack got to the hidden floor that time," and we'd all be like, "Oh yeah, how did that happen?" I thought it was just going to be one of those plot holes where we just kind of all forget about it until somebody brings it up, and then we forget again until somebody brings it up again. Just going to be one of those standing plot holes. So I'm glad that CU actually gave us an explanation for it. And Kulfu also said, about Akka being one of the cursed bloodlines, I think you're right. I was rereading the second season, and in season 2, episode 124, Muntari says that Yura and Akka were similar. Thank you for looking that up or giving me that information. Kulfu270, my source now, saying that right there, Muntari said Yura and Akka were similar. So that's really, really cool. I didn't know that. So yeah, furthering my theory, I'm pretty sure Akka's one of the cursed bloodline people too. So that's really, really cool. Phenom Uprising said, if Rat could enter the hidden floor through the mirror shard of the mirror shard, why couldn't Yura just do that with hers? A joke answer would be that it's kind of like homeopathy. The small shard is more powerful, or maybe when Rak was falling, the shard reacted to Karaka's attack because it was a very high concentration of Shinsoo, but that's not really convincing. Any ideas? For me, I think it kind of is maybe that simple. I think maybe the shard just transported Rak because there was such a massive attack that whoever was around the massive attack wouldn't have survived. So the shard just took whoever was there, closest, Rak I guess, to the hidden floor, back home. So yeah, maybe that's it. I know that we weren't specifically told that that's what the case was, but if we don't get told anything new, I guess that's just my assumption based on what we know, that it just did it because there was a massive attack there, a massive explosion of Shinsoo. So yeah, that's the reaction to Karaka's attack, I guess, is actually, was it Karaka's? I thought it was Yuri's attack that was the big destructive one. So I think it may have been Yuri's. So you know, maybe that, or no, Karaka did try to attack them before the whole Yuri thing. Maybe. Either way, I don't quite totally remember all the way. But yeah. I don't know. If I had any ideas, that's what it would be, is that it was just such a huge attack and explosion of Shinsoo that the shard just transported whoever was around, and that happened to be Rak. And I guess Yiwa and Danwa were just out of range. Lord of Dragon 555 said, what the hell did Bomb's father do to get the other members of the Zahard group to hate him? I don't feel like they did hate him. I feel like from what we've seen, or at least from what Garam's story said, it seems like they only sided... Because I'm pretty sure Zahard, or Garam specifically said, that they sided with Zahard because it looked like Zahard was going to win the war. They, like, V and Arlen stood up against Zahard and, not really betrayed him, but said they weren't going to fall in under him as king and whatnot. And the other family members just saw that Zahard was going to win, so they ended up joining up with who was going to win. They just put their eggs in the basket of the winner. So then we have Lol said, I don't remember Bomb telling his companions about his parents either. Maybe Siu told us in a blog post I missed. Do you have any idea what the difference between Su from the description of Shinsoo properties and this tension thing is? They both refer to the density of the Shinsoo. According to the Wikia, there is a limit to how dense a bong can be with Su, so maybe the tension can overcome or ignore this limit. Or maybe tension is only for people with their own Shinsoo quality. Please give me your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, nice video, and I'm looking forward to the review. Thank you so very much. They also brought up something else. They said, I'm also happy that he's getting some actual training instead of a random technique. I'm wondering if Bomb's going to get a shit ton of qualities, or just one or two of those qualities that he inherited from his parents. I'm also worried about the next arc. If Bomb beats Zahard here, then there's no way that the next arc's going to have any kind of villain that's remotely able to fight Bomb. The same thing for the rest of the tower. Bomb will most likely be low ranker level after this fight/training. Starting out from the beginning, I'll go point by point here. For me, I mentioned it in the review, I think that Su and tension might be the same thing. I think tension just might be a translation of Su. Because we've gotten all this other stuff. We've known about Su for a while. We know about number of bongs. We know about, myung, or the size of a bong or whatever. But as we've seen Bomb grow going up throughout the tower, he's learned to control more and more bongs. But this training might be to improve the Su of each of those bongs, so that each of the multiple bongs he has packs more of a punch. So I think that's really good. And it leads into the next thing you said of liking it being actual training. I like that we're training Bomb's Su or tension or whatever. I like that it's taking the attacks and techniques he already has and making them stronger instead of just giving new attacks and making the old ones seem obsolete. It's making the old ones even better. I really, really like that. As for Bomb's quality, I think his quality is either going to be like Zahard's, to just make him like a similar rival for Zahard even more, or it's going to be one that's an opposite of Zahard's, so that either maybe it forms a natural counter to whatever Zahard's is, so that even if Bomb isn't quite as strong as Zahard at this point, he has a quality that's a natural counter to Zahard's quality. For the last part with Bomb struggling with future arcs of the villains, one, we say that all the time. We're like, if Bomb gets this power up, if he fights this enemy, there's no way the next villain will be enough to stand a chance, but they always find a way to. But either way, I don't think it's too big of a worry, because even though this is Zahard, this is just the Helltrain version of Zahard. So at Helltrain level, Zahard is still super strong, he's still a natural, he's still an irregular, but he isn't omnipotent. He's super, super strong, but I think, like CU has brought up in the blog post, he can be kind of considered rival-ish for Bomb. I think that Bomb can still struggle with plenty of normal opponents, because I would say that my biggest way to justify saying that is that Bomb had just gone through partial training with the God of Guardians twice, both in the month arc and after beating Joaquin, and he had also gotten his power up to beat Joaquin, which was kind of temporary, kind of some everlasting, permanent-ish effects, but either way, he had just gotten that power up and trained with the God of Guardians twice, and he did that before he went to take on Kaiser, and then Kaiser was just a regular. Despite being a very, very good regular, Kaiser was just a regular, and Bomb still struggled to the point of getting the ass kicked out of him, being to the point of almost losing multiple times and having to develop new skills and developing himself in the fight in order to beat Kaiser. So I still think there's plenty of villains, even regulars, that stand a perfectly good chance against Bomb. In the last comment, Renan says, this new quality dynamic is great. I hope Bomb has a reinforcement quality besides the more elemental qualities, because he's physically weak. That'd be cool if he had something like that instead of just throwing an element on him. If Bomb had a quality that was like reinforcement. But I think that, like I brought up, he's either going to have one that's like his father's maybe, or one that's the same as Zahard's, or maybe it's a counter to Zahard's. I'm thinking, if I were to make predictions, I'm thinking maybe light, darkness, absorption, or propagation. I mentioned them in the review, but that's what I'm thinking, something like that. And that is it. So I hope you liked the HaQ&A. It was a long one. A lot to talk about. My throat's killing me. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of everything I said here. Much more. Yeah, whatever. Just comment whatever you want me to talk about. We can talk about pretty much anything. Subscribe for more of everything I mentioned here, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I'll try to keep you up to there and stuff for the channel. If you want to talk to me and more of us on the Discord, then ask and I can give you a link to the Discord server. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.